It's been a brief few weeks since we've seen some VA Cup Series action thanks to the summer break, but now with that in the rear view, we are ready to get back racing here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the Celcius Energy 600. Hello everyone, welcome back to some more Power VA Cup Series action. Like we said, it's been a long few months since we've been on the track, teams needing some time to be able to get themselves recouped and get their cars rebuilt for the second half of the VA Cup Series season. We have a lot of news and developing headlines, so we'll go ahead and get you covered with the latest headlines. Like we said, due to the extended break, there's been a few changes overall in the event coordination and the schedule itself, along with a very big developing headline story. We'll start off with the biggest story that two of our Championship Gauntlet contenders have decided to drop out of the competition. Abel DeGroat and Justin Henley will no longer be racing in the Power VA Cup Series as a protest due to what they feel is the unnecessary danger that they put themselves in week and week out with the severity and the size of the wrecks we've been seeing. Despite that, A, we haven't seen any fatalities in the season yet. B, these cars are probably built as safe as they ever can be. And C, the profit margins for these teams are about as high as ever. These two felt that with everything they had going for them, it would be best for them to no longer compete in the VA Cup Series. So, that will for sure move up a few people in the gauntlet positions and possibly open up a few rides down the road. In terms of tonight's event and going forward, there will be no longer qualifying races. The power governing body has felt that it would to help with the reduction of costs and to save on time and overall have a more quicker, smoother race weekends. We will be getting rid of the qualifying races. And the season schedule has been condensed a little bit from 25 races down to 20, mostly getting rid of some of the races from the second West Coast swing, those including the likes of the Denver Roval, the second Old Spice race, the second Phoenix race, the first Bristol race, and the race at North Wilkesboro. Those will unfortunately no longer be on the schedule, so it is even more crucial for our race to the Championship Gauntlet. Just 3 races remain until the Gauntlet begins. Let's go ahead and take a look how the point standings are shaping up. It's definitely been a long time since we've seen the points battle, and like we said, with the loss of Abel DeGroat and Justin Henley, for a lot of those guys, they'll be able to move up 1 or even 2 spots in the championship standing. Roberto Crown Jr. will be our leader going into this race with 117 points, but just shortly behind him is Christian Russell with 106. A little bit further back is Ethan Hayden with 81 points, so he's still got a good bit of work to catch up to both of them. And Brett Bishop just trailing behind him, just off by 6 points. Bishop has been stringing himself together some pretty good races. He's got himself some good momentum. Nelson Reeves and Owen Scott are both tied for the top 5 with 68 points apiece. James Fletcher sits in 7th, just behind them, trailing by 7 points. And Arvin Basic and Nick Kennedy are both tied with 55 points apiece. Devon Fair being one of the main benefactors of the removal of Justin Henley and Abel DeGroat. He will now just sit inside of the top 10 of the Championship Gauntlet standings with 52 points. Those just outside of the Championship Gauntlet, Myron Felder is on the outside looking in by just 2 points. David Dixon 1 point behind him as well from his Sinclair Canada Racing teammate. Chris White back there still in contention. He's just 9 points off of the Championship Gauntlet, and only 10 points separate Devon Fair from Jeff Bolton. Ruben Gonzalez, a few points back as well. He's the last of the top 15 that are locked into each race. Adam Wilson, just 1 point behind off of Ruben Gonzalez in 16th. Our last race winner, Seishin Tomiyaka, currently has himself poised in 17th, tied with Zachary DeLello. Quasin Jones and Aiden Smith will round out our top 20 as they are also tied with 34 points apiece. Let's go ahead now and take a look at how the starting lineup will form for the Celcius Energy 600. Remember, we just went with the standard qualifying procedure. No qualifying races were used to determine the starting order. 51 cars would enter, but only 42 would get the chance to race. Ben Crouch would end up being the fastest of them, claiming his pole for tonight's race. Crouch has been struggling a little bit, so it's good to see him bounce back on a good run. And the guy who's been struggling even worse to his outside is Dylan Hayden. This is actually the first race since Daytona that Dylan Hayden is actually able to make in return. Hayden has returned from his injury quite a bit ago, but just hasn't been able to qualify for any of the races since then. So this is the first race he's been able to qualify for. Great to see him there. Another guy who's been struggling to qualify since his injury is right behind him, the 93 of Roger James. He as well, since returning from his injury, that race 2 crash at Atlanta, he hasn't been able to qualify since he hopped in the 93 car, but he puts it on the outside of Owen Scott in row 2. Row 3, we'll see Christian Vargas and Riley Hill. Behind them, Adrian Rojas with his best qualifying position of the year, and John McFadden to his outside, and Blake Parker and Nick Kennedy will round out the top 10. Starting in 11th and 12th, we'll see Leland Hill and Ricky Freeman Jr. Already Alejo and Devon Fair make up row 7. And in row 8, we'll see Myron Felder and Herbert Oaks III. JQ Halak will have Ronnie Martin line up to her outside, and Daniel Smith and Carl Untesweffer will round out the top 20. Just outside the top 20, we'll see Tari Lowell and Alexander Rowe making his first race of the season. Seishin Tomiaka, last race's winner, will line up 23rd outside of Solomon Sheridan, and Boston Jones and Nelson Reeves will line up in 25th and 26th. We'll see row 14 will include Xander Howell and Mitchell Collins, and Priya McShane and Chris Parker will round out the top 30. Weston Roper making it for his Elite Forces Racing team. Outside of him is Aiden Smith. Chris White and James Fletcher will line up behind them in row 17. Row 18 will see James Fletcher and Jeff Bolton, followed by Arvin Basic and Roberto Crown Jr. And Christian Russell and Brett Bishop are going to round out the top 40. Many of the drivers that are high up in the point standings starting towards the back in today's race. And finally, rounding out the field, we'll see Ruben Gonzalez and David Dixon, as they were the slowest ones who still had a top 15 provisional, as they will round out our field. Those who failed to qualify will include Cam Wright Sr., Marcus Brown, Miles Mashburn, Adam Wilson, Zachary Fitzwater Sr., Cody Goforth, Josh Moore, Zachary DeLello, and on the next screen, you'll see John Ritson. Those would be the 9 drivers who all failed to qualify. 3 Mercedes, 3 Dodges, and 3 Chevys. So for those manufacturers, it definitely was not a good day for them, and especially for teams like Robbers Racing, who both of their cars ended up failing to qualify. Both Miles Mashburn and Josh Moore are not going to be in this race, as well as a couple of the Fitzwater Australia Racing cars. Their qualifying woes continue, as for the 4th time this season, both Zachary DeLello and Cody Goforth will not make the race. So definitely some stuff that needs to be fixed over in the garages of Dodge and Chevy. Cameron Sr. also missing out on his 3rd race in a row. So a lot of teams with some bad luck in qualifying. It continues here in Charlotte. And now let's go trackside for the command of the Celcius Energy 600.
Drivers, start your engines!
Okay, Ben, you can fire it up when you're ready, bud. They can fire it up. Early.
Alright, the field is fired up and away. 42 engines have come alive. So we are set here to get racing at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Take a look at tonight's race. It's going to be 100 laps the distance, one of the longest races of the entire season. So drivers are going to have to make sure that they can endure the full event. Pit window should be around 40 to 50 laps. So far, for the time being, it's looking like a 2-stop race. Unless we potentially get ourselves a good bit of cautions here, drivers may be able to save themselves enough fuel to make it a 1-stopper. It's a pretty warm night here in Charlotte, North Carolina, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, with the wind coming in from the southwest direction at about 6 miles per hour. This is one of the last races before the Gauntlet. 3 races, to be exact, before the Championship Gauntlet. And 10 of the top 15 points currently start outside of the top 30. So it'll be really interesting to see. We're going to have a lot of underdogs, a lot of drivers who just straight up have not been having a good season and have not been having the best of luck. They are up at the front. So a lot of our heavy hitters are going to have to fight their way through traffic and work their way up towards the front if they want to be able to get there. Here we go now. This is what we've been waiting for. A long summer break, finally long overdue. As the pace car pulls in, cars head up to the restart zone. And the green flag is in the air. Ben Crouch will lead us down to the green. Caution already out here to start lap 1. Ben Crouch going to lead us back around. Couple of cars heavily involved. Daniel Smith, Aiden Smith as well. And the O2 of Mitchell Collins. A lot of damage to David Dixon. So a pretty big wreck here to start off the race. Let's go ahead and get a replay, see exactly what happened. Looks like one of the main culprits of this crash going to be Mitchell Collins. Oh no, I see Daniel Smith going to actually get into the 84 and come up the track and get into quite a bit of cars in front of him. See Smith come in with a good run, tries to get under the 84 of Alex Rowe, who just comes down on it a little bit. And that is going to cause a domino effect between everyone behind him. Couple of championship contenders very closely involved, including the 39, 21, and 19. I believe that's our top 3 in the point standings, actually, all right there, almost in that wreck. Daniel Smith going to be our main culprit of the very first caution here, as we couldn't even get a full lap without bringing the pace car back out. We will be right back after these messages. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for coverage of the Celcius Energy 600. Right now, we are under caution from the lap 1 incident that involved the likes of Mitchell Collins, Aiden Smith, David Dixon, and Daniel Smith. All 4 of these drivers will be able to continue on in the race. Unfortunately for Mitchell Collins, he was the only one of those that had to go a lap down due to damage repairs. But all 4 of those drivers from that wreck are going to be able to keep going. So for the time being, we still have all the drivers that we started this race with. We're going to get restarted on lap 6 as Ben Crouch was able to come back to the line and defend his pole position, and he's going to look to do the same here. Mitchell Collins definitely going to be a factor as that 1 lap car lined up to the inside, but hopefully he shouldn't hold up the pack too much. Pace car is going to dive down pit road now, as we are going to get set to get restarted here. Field ready to get bunched up, and all those nerves and anticipation builds up once again. Coming to the restart zone, Ben Crouch, Dylan Hayden, Roger James will lead us down to the green. Dylan Hayden going to give a very good push to Ben Crouch. Going to look to the inside of the 03. Hayden wasting no time trying to go for the lead. He got himself a very good jump as Tari Lowell gets dumped in the back. Lowell goes around for a spin. I don't even think he hit the wall. And caution will come out for that. So we're going to come around, try to get ourselves back picked up here. Ben Crouch is going to be able to hold off Dylan Hayden. See if these other cars can make sure they can get woed up in time. Yes, they can. Oh, boy, no, they cannot. There goes Nelson Reeves. He's going to come around into more traffic. A couple of cars get involved after the caution comes out. Oh, David Dixon gets into the 25. So very interesting to see here. Caution back out once again here on lap 7. Go ahead and get a replay first here of the spin that brought out the caution in the first place. Nelson Reeves just going to get under the 28 of Tari Lowell and send him inside to the inside wall. So unfortunately, that's never good for Lowell. I think he should be able to keep going, but nonetheless, we'll have some right side damage. Then later on, when these cars getting slowed up here, through the trial that they go, Nelson Reeves in a bit of karma, I would assume. The 22 is going to get clipped by the 25. Then the 76 gets clipped by Priya McShane. He comes spinning back up into traffic. It takes the 25 James Fletcher and Chris Parker with him. Weston Roper also got himself involved as well. Once again, coming to the line, we're going to see the 25 up the 22 of Chris White. Now Chris White to go to the inside of the apron a little bit. So does Fletcher as well. A couple cars wreck around him. Fletcher going to get caught up. Probably gets the heaviest out of anyone in that accident there. Gets hit by David Dixon as well, just a slight bit. One more look at the crash after the caution. You'll see both the 98 get into the 76, the 25 get into the 22, and I believe the 12 even got into the 52 as well. No, the 33 actually did. It's because they got pinched up. But still, nonetheless, a couple of cars definitely involved. Another caution back out here on lap 7. Alright, welcome back everyone. We're currently on lap 10. We're going to get restarted on lap 11 here for the Celcius 600 from Charlotte. We're under caution due to the lap 6 crash involving the likes of Chris White, James Fletcher, Tari Lowell, the 33 of Chris Parker, David Dixon, the 52 of Weston Roper, and Nelson Reeves, all involved in that incident. All those cars will be able to continue on, and the best part is none of them even lost a lap while getting their damages repaired. So, once again, we still have all of the drivers that have entered this race. They're still in it, and the only car lap down is the 02 of Mitchell Collins. Everyone else is still in it, still in the lead lap, although some cars a lot more beaten and battered than others. Ben Crouch has led every single lap so far, as we've only had about 2 real natural laps of green flag racing. Hopefully we can actually get ourselves here a real green flag run going as we are set to get restarted. Pace car is going to dive down pit road, as these cautions have already made us progress about a 1/10 of the way through the race. Cars entering the restart zone here. Ben Crouch, Dylan Hayden going to lead us down once again. Green flag is back in the air on lap 11. Hayden immediately looks to the inside of Ben Crouch. This time gets a much better jump, and I think is going to probably have him at the end of the first corner. Just about does. He's going to get some help from Roger James behind him as well. James looks to the inside of Hayden to get him a good push. The 03 has some help from the 15 of Owen Scott, but right now Dylan Hayden going to move his way to the lead. Hayden going to come around and lead lap 11. New leader Dylan Hayden, as the driver who we saw took that vicious crash at Daytona, got caught up in the catch fence, was forced to miss 3 races. Then, since he hopped back in the car, hasn't even been able to make a race since. As a lot is going on in the back here, a little bit of contact. These guys are going 3-4 wide, trying to get themselves around the damage on the cars. It is chaos back here, but I think they're just barely going to make it through. Maybe not. Mitchell Collins hard in the wall. He finally gets off of it. They're going to keep going for the time being, but like we were saying, Dylan Hayden, he's been having himself one of the worst seasons a guy could possibly have. Got in a catastrophic crash at Daytona, got caught up in the catch fence, had to miss a few races. Then, since then, hasn't been able to qualify for a race. This is the first race he's been able to qualify for since his wreck. And here he is out front leading laps. He's got some pressure from Ben Crouch, though. Crouch still going ahead and doing it. As the 03 trying to apply pressure to the 48, but it is not working. So far, a little bit of single file action here. Just outside in the 6th position, though, we got some pack racing, 4 wide action going on for what looks to possibly be that 10th position, maybe even the 8th spot even. As we see here, Blake Parker trying to put some pressure on the 89 of John McFadden, Adrian Rojas, just a little bit ahead of him as well. As you see, these guys racing pretty hard for these top 10 positions. Remember the championship gauntlet heating up. Just 3 races remain as a battle for the lead. Here comes Ben Crouch to the inside of the 48 of Dylan Hayden. Hayden now facing some pressure from both Crouch and the 93 of Roger James. Owen Scott also saying, hang on, I'd like to have a shot at this as well. Can you wait for me? Here he comes, as we're going to see 4 cars all under a blanket try to go for the lead. Hayden is going to prevail. James going to look to the inside, though. He wants to try to get around Ben Crouch. Side by side into turn 2. Owen Scott trying to keep the nose under the 93 of Roger James. Thinks better of it. Ben Crouch able to get a better run off the corner. Now he's going to try to go for the lead. Crouch looking to the inside, but Dylan Hayden going to have the momentum on that high line. It seems to be the high line gets a better drive off the corner. Crouch, though, able to get it in there pretty good. They're going to be side by side across the line. Hayden's going to lead that lap. But Ben Crouch continuously putting in more and more pressure on that 48 car. As we might be going 3 wide for second. Here we go. Scott down on the bottom and is going to make the move work. Roger James stuck his nose in the middle, and Dylan Hayden is going to lose 3 positions in 1 lap. Maybe not just yet. He's trying to fight back on the high side, but I don't think it's going to prevail. Hayden trying to keep the position. Roger James is going to hold it, and Ben Crouch is going to come back to the lead of this race once again. Owen Scott looking to the inside. More cars are starting to get themselves in on the fun as well. We're seeing Nick Kennedy come up to the pack, as well as Riley Hill and the 65 of Adrian Rojas. So don't count yourselves out just yet. Plenty of cars up in the mix at the front, but right now Ben Crouch starting to put a couple car lengths on the drivers in 2nd through 5th. Owen Scott fighting hard with Dylan Hayden. Hayden trying to come back on that outside line. He is actually making it work and is going to get back up to the second position for the time being. I think he just barely has a 15 clear, but the 15 going to come back with a run under him. Nick Kennedy able to give him some much needed help, as Kennedy now going to go to the high side and try to make it a train on that inside line. Here comes Riley Hill. He just dives it into the corners, going to make it stick, and will easily take that 5th position away from Nick Kennedy. Crouch, though, continues to hold on to his lead as we are seeing some absolutely fantastic racing up at the front of the pack. Roger James trying to hold on to that 3rd spot. Dylan Hayden looking to get his lead right back as Ben Crouch has been holding on and maintaining over the pack. So far, about a 5th of the way through the race. Had a couple of cautions, but we're starting to get ourselves some amazing green flag racing underway. As here comes the 48 of Dylan Hayden, peeking his nose to the inside of Ben Crouch. Caution is out here on lap 20. That'll bunch the field right back up as a huge crash continues, involving a couple of championship contenders, Chris Parker, Ethan Hayden, and the 39 of Christian Russell as well. This is going to cause some implications as the caution is back out for the 3rd time. Let's go ahead and see how we got here. A pretty big incident here on lap 20 that involves 2 of our top 3 in the championship point standings. Christian Russell going to get hooked by the 84 of Alexander Rowe. Comes back up the track, wipes out Ethan Hayden right behind him. Those 2 cars, heavy damage up the top. Hayden slides down, and Chris Parker just has nowhere to go. Crashes right into the back of them. See it here from another angle. 84 of Alexander Rowe pushing hard on the 39 of Christian Russell. Just hooks him down the front stretch. Rowe barely gets himself involved with that. A heavy hit for the 39 and the 19. And then another heavy hit here as Ethan Hayden just gets rear-ended. Absolutely nothing that the 33 could do there. One last look at the caution as, like we said, 2nd and 3rd place in the points. They're going to take a heavy hit. As Christian Russell, Ethan Hayden, and Chris Parker all going for wild rides. Caution is out here on lap 21. Alright, welcome back everybody here to the Celcius Energy 600. We're just about ready to get restarted. Lap 25, I believe. 4 cars were involved in the incident on lap 20 that brought us under the caution. Those included the likes of Ethan Hayden, Chris Parker, Christian Russell, and Alexander Rowe. Rowe being the only one of those that are going to be able to continue on in this race, as the rest fortunately suffered too much damage. Those 3 drivers not going to be able to continue on. Very hard hit for guys like Christian Russell and Ethan Hayden. Hayden was only 3rd in the points. He was still behind by a good margin, but needed quite a bit. And Russell as well didn't have too many points behind on Roberto Crown Jr. So both those guys going to need that. Crown Jr. faces some misfortunes himself. Pace car is going to pull back in. Ben Crouch is going to lead us back down to the green flag. So we're about ready to get restarted here. Here comes pace car down in the pits. Car is about to approach the restart zone. So we're getting set. The 03 is going to lead us back down to the green. Crouch gets a pretty decent jump on this restart here. Is Hayden going to look to the inside, try to dive his nose in there? First 6, 7 cars, pretty single file with trouble in the back. A huge crash. Many a cars involved, upside down. It's the big one at Charlotte. Holy crap. Look at all that damage. Many a cars involved. As we race back to the line here, it is going to be the 48 actually. Dylan Hayden going to take the lead in all that. So an absolutely gigantic crash. Alright, we're going to need a couple looks at this here. We're going to see Leland Hill get under the 07 Billy Parker. Both of them are going to come on the track, and that's just going to cause some absolute chaos behind them, as many cars get involved in this one. Lots of cars upside down, flipped over, badly damaged. Definitely millions of dollars of damages have been caused. Take another look as all throughout the pack here we saw some pretty dicey racing going into turn 2. A lot of these cars just came up together. Onto Zweffer with a very violent flip. So you'll see many of cars just tumble over and over and Untersweffer will finally come to a stop on his roof, along with Arvin Basic as well. Just a lot of innocent bystanders in this crash, as plenty of cars just make contact, get together, they've got nowhere to go. Christian Russell does a barrel roll in midair. A couple of cars did. Absolutely wild stuff. Take a look from the helicopter perspective, you can get a really good overview of how these cars just kind of bunch together. You see JQ Alak and Myron Felder get together, then the 01 and 54 get caught up. Just many cars tumble over and over as, well, they just have nowhere to go, and it's one of the bigger crashes we've seen this season. Look here at this colossal incident involving well over half the field. Gigantic crash, going to take a lot of cleanup here. As many cars over and over. Caution is out here on lap 25. Alright, welcome back everybody here. We're on lap 29 as we're still under caution after that huge incident. It'd be way longer to go over who was in the accident, but we can tell you who is going to be out of the accident. We've got the likes of Aiden Smith, Carl Untersweffer, Arvin Basic, Myron Felder, and Nelson Reeves will no longer be able to continue on in the event thanks to that huge incident. Surprisingly, there is still quite a few cars that were able to repair their damages, such as the 54, the 13, you see the 99 here on the bottom, the 02. Couple cars are a lap down, or a few laps down as well. But still, this is how the field is shaping up. We've got about a little over, I think about 30 cars or so still left in this race, give or take. Like we said, quite a bit of them were beaten and battered than others. But it should be interesting. Mitchell Collins and Xander Howell going to line up on the inside line. Like we said, Collins is 1 lap down, and I believe Howell is about 2 laps down. Pace car pulls in as we're about ready to get restarted here. Dylan Hayden going to lead us back down to the green, comes up to the restart zone, and the green flag is back out here in Charlotte. As expected, an incredibly slow start for that inside line. Ben Crouch going to try to immediately look to the inside of Dylan Hayden. A couple cars going way up on that high line, and there's already a yellow out here as we are seeing some in the back. Oh, Roper gets himself into the wall a little bit from Boston Jones. Something must have happened to some of these cars on the restart here. Coming to the line, though, Ben Crouch trying to fight his way on the outside, and I think he's going to be able to. Crouch is going to retake the lead once again. He's coming to the caution now. And I think we're going to get all settled out, so we will have to figure out what brought us out under the yellow for the 4th time today. Seems like a pretty simple accident here in the restart. A couple of damaged and lap cars get together. The 54 Leland Hill is going to get in with the 89 and McFadden and just take out a couple cars, Ronnie Martin and JQ Halak along with him. Hopefully, I think these 3 should be fine in terms of damages. Take another look here on this restart. It's amazing what the 54 team was able to do. You never thought that thing got flipped over a couple of times, but it did. As we'll see here, he gets under John McFadden, just gets hooked, and like I said, Ronnie Martin and JQ Locke don't really have anywhere to go along with him. A pretty simple incident, and all 3 of these cars should be able to keep going. And one more look at what's definitely one of the more slower crashes of the season. Like I said, just trying to get up to speed. Leland Hill gets hooked under the 89, and the 92 and 13 have nowhere to go. Caution is out as a result, and we'll be right back after this. Pit road is going to be open this time, and we'll see if we'll have any takers. About 30 laps done, but granted, about a good bit of them, probably 10 to 15, have been completed under caution. But yes, it looks like majority of the field is going to come down pit road, try to make it on this possible one-stop strategy, especially if you know, there's more and more accidents and wrecks. But as they come down pit road, see the whole entire field get into their pit stalls. Ben Crouch going to lead them down along with Dylan Hayden. I'm expecting 4 tires and fuel from a majority of the field coming out here as we see Crouch gets into a stall, Hayden gets into a stall. All right, sides up for a majority of the field. Let's see if anybody stayed out at all. We'll looks like the only ones that did were the lap damaged cars. So everyone who is on the lead lap is down pit road right now. Cars coming out. Looks like Hayden. Oh, Crouch actually has a little bit of a problem. He's not able to get out of his stall just yet. Finally able to. The 15 of Owen Parker did also not have a very good start. So that's going to really help out some guys like the 48. Hayden, though, got a little bit of damage getting out of pit road. I think he got into the 03 of Ben Crouch, and that's possibly what held him up. But some cars definitely going to make up some spots on pit road, as we are seeing here. Still under caution, as we are about to get set to get restarted. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Celcius Energy 600 from the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're about to get restarted due to the incident on around lap 30, I believe, between Leland Hill, the 13 of JQ Halak, the 89 of John McFadden, and the 92 of Ronnie Martin. All those guys are going to be able to continue on through the race. A little bit of pit strategy. Cycled up the field a little bit. Dylan Hayden still came out in front in first. Roger James second. Riley Hill shoots his way up to third. Adrian Rojas fourth. And already Alejo moves up to the top 5. Ben Crouch falls all the way down to 8th. And Owen Parker down to 10th respectively. We've got some lap traffic in the way. Xander Howell will lead the inside line. Mitchell Collins and David Dixon on the outside. So remember, these first 3 cars, they're all a lap down. Well, a couple laps down actually. I know Mitchell Collins is just 1 lap down, but he might be able to get this lap back here if we get a quick caution once again. Green flag comes out. Lap car is going to lead us back down to the green as we are underway and restarted now. Hayden already facing a huge stack up that outside line, not able to get going thanks to the lap traffic. This is going to get very tense and wild as we're seeing 3, 4 wide all throughout the pack. These guys trying to get away from these slower cars, and it's not going to work. Another big crash. Riley Hill up on the wall. Roger James involved as well. Hill flipping down the back straightaway. Caution definitely going to come out now. As we see here, already Alejo somehow finding his way to the lead, as the 2 car will lead us back down to the green, or the yellow, excuse me. Absolutely. In a replay of the restart here, you see nobody able to get going. The whole entire outside row gets all bunched up. Riley Hill gets thrown into the wall by Adrian Rojas. These lap traffic just not able to get up to speed and out of the way. Everyone's together. And then that's pretty much just a result of that. Riley Hill for a tumble, and will most likely be the end of his race. See, once again on this restart, guys going 3, 4 wide, just trying to get around those slow lap cars. They all come together, a bunch of good fast cars going at it into the wall. Like I said here, you're going to see Riley Hill take a tumble, flip over a couple times. Saw a good bit of some contenders in this race as well, like Roger James got himself involved in that, unfortunately. Adrian Rojas, as soon as he was looking to get himself a pretty good run here going, gets himself caught up in some trouble, but doesn't look to be too damaged at least. But still, many cars going to have some damage. Take one more look at this accident here that's brought out the caution once again here in today's race. Riley Hill going for a wild ride as both Hill brothers seem to just keep flipping in today's race. We'll be right back after this. Under caution right now after the lap 35 incident. Pit road is open, and we're going to see some takers. Dylan Hayden's going to come back down to repair a little bit more damage. A couple of the Vortex Racing cars as well. Chris White and Brett Bishop going to, no, looks like Bishop is going to stay out actually. But still, Ben Crouch also coming down pit road. Roberto Crown Jr. is down. A good bit of cars you see either coming down for a possibly scheduled stop or for some damage repairs. A couple of these guys, it may end up turning this race into a potential 3-stopper. We'll have to see, but for the likes of Dylan Hayden, Ben Crouch, they may be trying to repair the little bit of damage that they have, and also get themselves set up for this race as, oh, Adrian Rojas takes a little bit of contact to Leland Hill trying to get into his stall. But many of the heavy hitters you see, top 3, Roger James, Dylan Hayden, Ben Crouch, guys we've seen at the front all day long, they're coming down pit road, trying to get themselves serviced and get themselves prepared for the restart. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. We're about to get set to get restarted here after the gigantic lap 35 crash that involved the likes of Mitchell Collins, Riley Hill, David Dixon, the 65 of Adrian Rojas, the 93 of Roger James, and the 98 of Graham McShane. Mitchell Collins and Riley Hill will unfortunately not be able to continue on in this race from the damages they had sustained. Collins had too much damage from his already existing damage, and well, Riley Hill, you saw how many times he flipped over. Amazed they were able to get his brother still back out there though and running. Right now, as it stands, already Alejo, for I believe the first time this season, or one of the first times, is actually going to be in the lead. Him and Nick Kennedy were able to take advantage of all that traffic ahead of them and cruise on the inside 3 wide to the lead. So these are your new leaders. Blake Parker going to sit in fourth. Owen Scott moves up to fifth. A lot of our heavy hitters we're seeing towards the back here, like Ben Crouch, Dylan Hayden, Roger James, all came down pit road under that caution to service themselves for what they're hoping to be the last time of the race. Pace car pulls in, approaching the restart zone. Already Alejo is going to lead us back down to the green. Here on lap 40 now, coming close to halfway as the field going to try to get themselves all situated. See if they can make it through the lap traffic of Xander Howell. So far, single file action throughout our top 10. As, ooh, we're going a little bit 3 wide here in the back. Trying to get around the 99. Oh, the 99 gets thrown into the wall. His team owner, Leland Hill, goes with him. Ben Crouch trying to get around him. More cars trying to avoid it. They don't know where to go. Howell just goes down pit road. Somehow, I don't know if he made it in time or not before the cone or what, but that could have been huge. Meanwhile, Nick Kennedy already Alejo. Brett Bishop trying to put the pressure there as well. The top 7 all under a blanket right now is Nick Kennedy side by side with already Alejo, fighting hard down the backstretch where Alejo can power through the middle of the corner. Try to use that outside to his advantage, and he will. Alejo will defend that position. Now Nick Kennedy faces some pressure from Brett Bishop. Bishop's been having himself a great few runs here so far this season. He's been putting himself together some pretty good performances. And he's looking to do the same here in Charlotte right now, possibly try to take advantage of some others' misfortunes. He's got a big push from Blake Parker. These guys are pretty much tandeming as they almost go 3 wide into the corner. Bishop had to back out of it as Parker went for the move. As these guys fight, it allows already Alejo to continue on and grow that lead ever more. See here, Bishop still trying to put the pressure on Nick Kennedy. Owen Scott also facing some pressure from Alexander Rowe. I believe this is one of Rowe's first races that he's actually been able to make, and look at him go in the top 10. A part-time effort in full position racing. As that 84 car right now is flying. But here we go, Nick Kennedy coming back up to the lead on already Alejo. They're side by side through the tri-oval. Nick Kennedy going to take the lead away from already Alejo, as he will be the 4th leader of this race. But Alejo not too keen on getting that position up just yet. He's going to fight on that high side, try to power through around the 68, and will be able to do so. Now Nick Kennedy really facing some pressure as he's got 4 cars all lying that 2nd position. Watch out here too, Solomon Sheridan might be able to get themselves in the mix as well. 2 of the JCM cars riding around the top 10, and 2 of the JCM cars that really haven't been having most of the most fortunes of the year. Right now, caution is actually out, as a huge wreck involved the 48 of Dylan Hayden, the 13 of JQ Alak. Tari Lowell is involved. Caution is out. Once again, as these cars are going to back it down. Coming across the tri-oval, race to the line, top 4 is going to be Alejo, who will defend the position. So once again, on lap 45, we are under the caution, and we got ourselves a couple of pretty heavy hitters involved. Take a look at what brought out the caution here on lap 45. John McFadden fighting for one of the last points positions race. This is actually his last race with Ronnie Racing, and it will not end good as he gets up into Ricky Freeman and then has nowhere to go. Oh, gets clobbered by the 48 and the 13, unfortunately. And I believe the 28 also going to get involved with the 13 as well. Take another look here. John McFadden just going to wash up the track and for Ricky Freeman here. Nothing Freeman did wrong there. McFadden just came up on him and then, oh my goodness, a double hit for the 89 of John McFadden as he gets hit by both the 48 and the 13. Another look here at the main incident. You'll see McFadden just wash up the track into the 7 and forces him around. Crouch able to avoid, so is the 98 of McShane, but like we said, Dylan Hayden just not so fortunate, and then gets clobbered by JQ Block, who then gets hit by the 28 Atari Lowell, who has nowhere to go, unfortunately. Go on board with Weston Roper, as it feels every track he goes to, he's got a 4-leaf clover hidden up his ass somewhere. As you'll see, the field just kind of split away for him once again when Dylan Hayden hits 89 of John McFadden there. Take one more look here at how this wreck got formed, as we are under caution once again. 7th time of day as a result. We'll be right back after this. Pit road once again going to be open this time, and it looks like a few takers is going to come down as well. Our leader, already Alejo, is going to give up his lead along with Owen Scott, and the 84 of Alexander Rowe. A couple of cars going to make their way down pit road. The 7 of Ricky Freeman Jr. definitely there to repair some damages, but the rest of them pretty much there as a result of pit strategy cars. So Nick Kennedy is going to be your new leader. A lot of these guys going to once again try to make their final pit stop for the day and make it work. Welcome back everybody here to the Celcius 600 from Charlotte. It's definitely been a interesting race, a wreck-filled one, as we're coming up on the caution record for sure. We're under caution for the lap 45 incident involving the likes of JQ Halak, Tari Lowell, the 48 of Dylan Hayden, the 89 of John McFadden, and the 7 of Ricky Freeman Jr. The 13, 48, and 89 all unfortunately going to be out of this race, as we are just now approaching the halfway mark here on lap 50. Pace car is going to dive down pit road here. Leland Hill, one of the lap cars on the inside. Nick Kennedy overtakes the lead after already Alejo and a few other leaders come down pit road. So, pace car pulls in into the restart box. And the green flag is back out. Nick Kennedy leading us down underway. A couple cars looking to the inside immediately. Solomon Sheridan trying to get to the underneath of Blake Parker. As you're seeing here, this field has really thinned out. We might have just about a little under 20 cars, a little over 20 cars racing. As right now the 12 getting a lot of pressure from the 07 Blake Parker. Parker really looking to that inside line. He wants to try to get second. Oh boy, the 34 of Jeff Bolton got a little bit loose. And hey, here comes Roberto Crown Jr., he started all the way in the back of the pack, but due to his attrition and just staying in it, our points leader looking to gain even more on his lead as well. Ethan Hayden and Christian Russell aren't going to be able to score any points for this race. So Roberto Crown Jr. keeping it and kicking along, as right now the 68 of Nick Kennedy ahead. Lots of cars though getting held up by this 54 of Leland Hill. You got to be careful though, as it may still involve another wreck. As, oh boy, look right here, the 07 with a huge block on the 10. 3 wide throughout the tri-oval here. It is getting very dicey as we're coming into the second half of the race now. Tomiaka trying to hold off the pressure from the 21. Here comes the 12 now looking to the inside. Brett Bishop wants to have a shot for the lead, but just wasn't able to get there. He's reeling in that 68 car a little bit more though. Getting himself under the lines and getting himself nice and comfortable here in this run, trying to get himself back up to the front. Meanwhile, 3 wide here. One of those cars is a lap down though, so Ruben Gonzalez and the 34 Jeff Bolton fighting for that 5th position. Gonzalez going to be able to hang on. Now Blake Parker's starting to reel his way back into Brett Bishop. He's going to try to once again get himself around for that 2nd position. Nick Kennedy out in front though, minding his P's and Q's. Lots of cars coming through the tri-oval here now. Field's starting to get a little bit spread out. We're starting to see some of the cars that came down pit road trying to make their way through the front. Owen Scott, the 2 of already Alejo, on those fresher tires, trying to make their way through the field. Top 5 getting a little bit spread out though, about a half a second between each car. Brett Bishop really trying to get back to the front of the 68 of Nick Kennedy. It's just not going his way right now though. as he still fights off in that second position. 3 wide for what looks to be the 12th spot. Owen Scott going to right now prevail, but he's going to wash up the track a little bit. Already Alejo going to get a run right under him. Blake Parker reeling back into 12 of Brett Bishop. It's interesting to see, you know, a lot of these guys, like Blake Parker, hasn't had a lot of great luck this season. Solomon Sheridan has missed out on a couple races and has been involved in some pretty big crashes. Ruben Gonzalez, it seems like he's got no luck on any place that isn't a plate track, but here he is right now in the top 5 at Charlotte. Brett Bishop looking to take a little bit of a different line now. Some guys starting to experiment a little bit deeper into the run, trying to see if that high line will be available. Slight flyby of the field here as you're still seeing some pretty good action towards the back. Solomon Sheridan reeling his way into the 07 of Blake Parker. 3 wide here now as we're seeing Station, Tomiaki, McShane, and Owen Scott all trying to go for the same real estate. Tomiaka and McShane side by side through the tri-oval so far. As right now Blake Parker really gets on the rear bumper of the 12 of Brett Bishop, practically pushing him throughout the entire corner. As these guys racing hard as they know it is down to the wire. They've got a shot to actually get a really good green flag run going. And the points is there for the taking. Like we said, not many drivers who are within the top 15 points are actually in those points. The only one I can see right now is the 68 of Nick Kennedy, the 34 Jeff Bolton, and right here the 21 and the 15. But otherwise than that, there really isn't too many major championship contenders. So a lot of these guys here, especially with time running out, only the rest of this race and 2 other races before the Championship Gauntlet begins. So you got to get as many points as you can get. The 12 of Brett Bishop as well as another guy I forgot to mention. He's up in the top 15 as well. So some guys really taking advantage of these situations here, but staying in the back and staying out of trouble, and it's been working out for him. Here comes Solomon Sheridan to the inside of Blake Parker now for that 3rd position. Sheridan sticks his nose down to the inside. One of the JCM drivers here. Looking to go side by side, toe to toe with the Parker Enterprises owner. Right now it's working for Sheridan. That inside line is holding up for him. It's maintaining it. Coming now to lap 60. 41 laps to go here in this race. Like we said, it's the longest race of the season, one of the more endurance-styled events. And it is on show so far. We've had 7 cautions in total to spend on the first 60 laps. Wonder if we'll go green flag all the way through the last 40. As right now, Nick Kennedy still holding his own by a half-second lead. Sheridan still battling it out with the 07 of Blake Parker as well. That's going to allow the 12 and 68 to start really running away from this pack here. And remember, pit strategies could still play a huge factor as well. I know we've had a lot of cautions. These guys have been able to save a lot of fuel, but there's a good bit of this, the field that has not pitted twice yet. Say a good bit of cars towards the back. They have their second pit stop. We're still not sure if they're able to make it all the way to the end or not. But it's still a huge thing to keep in mind now as we're coming up to just 39 laps to go. Brett Bishop starting to get closer to Nick Kennedy. A little bit of the pack is starting to form behind the 07 of Blake Parker. About 5 cars, 6 cars to be exact, all in that little group right there under a blanket. Bishop starting to put together some pretty clean and consistent laps. He's really closing the gap down between himself and Nick Kennedy. What was once a half-a-second gap is now only about a quarter of a second, not even. Kennedy able to get himself a much better run here. We're seeing 3 wide throughout the tri-oval here. This is for 5th. Bolton trying to get that position, but Ben Crouch is the one that seems to have the forward momentum. He's going to send it in the corner, go from the middle line to the low line, and make that stick. Leland Hill, you see him battling around. He's a couple of laps down thanks to that huge incident got involved earlier. Pretty much the big one. Almost clips the inside of the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. There. Here we go now. As we're seeing Bishop still trying to get himself all ready and composed. He is closing that gap. Kennedy will sometimes increase it just a little bit, but for the most part, 68 car holding his own. Ben Crouch wanted to make a move on Solomon Sheridan, just didn't have enough of a run going for him. Here comes Alexander Rowe. Now he makes an easy move to the inside of Ruben Gonzalez here. Ooh, watch out, the 21 of Roberto Crown Jr. Flips the apron just a slight bit. He's getting a huge push from the 15 Owen Scott. One driver we've been seeing falling back a little bit is Ruben Gonzalez. He's starting to lose out some positions. He was a little bit inside the top 5. He's now fallen all the way down to 8. It seems like his car is starting to come away from him. It's now Roberto Brown Jr. faces a lot of pressure, a huge pack looming over him for that 9th position. Right now, Chris White holds on to the last remaining points-paying spot in that 15th place. Actually, I believe Seishin Tomiyaka is going at 15th now. Yes, he is. Up at the front, though. A couple cars trying to get around Solomon Sheridan. That includes Ben Crouch and Jeff Bolton. Brett Bishop is starting to lose a little bit of grip on the leader of Nick Kennedy. As we're seeing right here, Blake Parker just doing whatever he can to hold on to this 3rd position, but it seems he's got a lot of cars that are faster than him. Either that or he's just trying to preserve his equipment for the end, try to make it to the end. So like we said, we're still not sure if these guys are going to need to pit once again or not. Ooh, look out, Jeff Bolton gets down to the apron. A great save. He got clipped by Ben Crouch, but was able to save it. We almost saw our 8th caution of the day there. Pretty good stuff from those drivers, so that'll really bunch up some guys behind them, though, for those positions, like Alexander Rowe getting himself a very good run, going to try to get around the 34 of Bolton, possibly push onto the 03 of Crouch as well, hoping for him to watch up. Oh, he's going to clip him down to the apron. Man, these guys getting really rowdy. Crouch comes back up the track into Bolton, forces Bolton to go really high. Just barely keeps it off the wall. These guys have been racing so dicey in this middle pack. I don't know how they've been able to keep it saved and kept it off the wall. They haven't wrecked each other just yet, but they're looking like they're trying really hard to do so. Crouch holding his line now down on the inside. Here's Scott trying to get himself around the 34 of Jeff Bolton. Seeing more guys that are higher up in the points position. They are making their way towards the front now. A lot of the underdogs, well, they've kind of ruined their chances through all these wrecks and stuff that's been going on for them. So far, though, Kennedy really been reeling out his lead. Alexander Rowe, what a run. He's going to get off the corner on the 07 of Blake Parker. Trying to get to the inside of Solomon Sheridan. Parker's been doing a great job of holding off his 3rd position. He's had a lot of battles, a lot of drivers come up and try to fight him, but he's been holding his own for the most part, keeping that position his. A little bit of 3 wide, almost towards the back. You see a couple of the Mountain Dew cars there with already Alejo and Chris White. Scott dives it into the corner. Sheridan's going to run up high, and that's going to allow Alexander Rowe to now come there and take the position as we're coming up to just 30 laps to go now. Getting down to the wire here. Nick Kennedy so far running his own race with about a 2nd of a lead over the 2nd place car, Brett Bishop. The 84 of Alexander Rowe able to get by the 10. Now here comes Owen Scott, also again by Solomon Sheridan. Seems like Sheridan's equipment is starting to fade away a little bit towards the end, or as we get towards the middle of this run, excuse me. This has been the longest green flag run of the day, I would say. Seeing here some guys, Roger James towards the back. He just hasn't been able to make his charge up to the front ever. You know, he's had a little bit of damage to that car. And you can tell it's definitely affecting him. He's still in the points, but not as much as he was earlier on. As here comes now the 12 of Brett Bishop. Somehow has lost an incredible amount of time. I don't know if he made a mistake, but now he is under an immense amount of pressure. Parker's going to get by him for 2nd. The 84 and the 15 pushing hard on him, trying to get by as well. I don't know what happened to Brett Bishop, as he is getting absolutely shoved into the corner by Owen Scott. Scott still hooked onto the rear bumper of Brett Bishop. Trying to give him a run on that outside now. As a lot of these cars here starting to single file out. Rowe going to try to find his way back in line. Still holding that inside line. He just barely has a nose in there, but it's not going to be enough. I think Scott's going to have him cleared here. Yes, he does. So Blake Parker now moves himself into that 2nd position. He's got a lot of work to do, though, if he wants to try to get anywhere near the 68 of Nick Kennedy. About 2 seconds worth of work to be exact. Sheridan still fading on that high side. It is not working out for him. He's been losing many positions here these past couple of laps. Gonzalez as well, still losing out on positions. About to face a lot of pressure from both Already Alejo and the 98 of Priya McShane. 3 wide here for what looks to be that 12th position. 13th actually, as these 3 guys hold up the last points paying spots. Roberto Crown Jr., Roger James, and Chris White. Brett Bishop seems like his car might be fading on him as well. Is now Owen Scott going to be able to get around? I see some drivers possibly could have just been saving their tires, like Blake Parker. Could be a big reason as to why he was holding up the pack so much, as we are now coming around to just 25 to go. Nick Kennedy has a nice stranglehold on the field right now, a 2-second gap, and he's just out front logging laps. Can't be bothered, nobody around him. The 12 of Brett Bishop dives to the inside of Owen Scott, just barely has the nose in there, going to try to get him back for that third position. Trying to use as much momentum as he can down the backstretch. But not going to have enough. Alexander Rowe going to try to fight his way on that outside line. And yeah, just you see Bishop as he gets deeper and deeper in the corner. He just has to keep backing it up and keep letting off the gas, hitting the brakes a little bit. That car is just not going where it wants to go for him. And it is showing as now Brett Bishop facing some pressure from Jeff Bolton. He's got Sheridan as well. Sheridan trying to make a slight little bit of a comeback here. Here comes the 15 of Owen Scott now, and Alexander Rowe, a little bit of a 3-car tandem for that second place position. So now we see here Nick Kennedy go on to take lap 78. Coming down to the wire to the end of this race, we were caution-filled for the first half. We're looking to be green flag to the end for the second half, unless we're able to get some. Remember, these guys were still racing pretty dicey. A lot of guys were getting clipped onto the apron, having to make saves and stuff. So you never know, and a caution could still come out, bunch these guys right back up. And again, we don't know how the pit strategy is going to go either. We're coming down to the final 20 laps. So if, guys do still need to pit, I would assume they're going to need to pit soon. But if, they might be looking like they might not be able to. Some guys might have been able to save enough fuel. A couple have taken 2 stops in this race. So those guys should be good to the end, I would assume. Meanwhile, here comes the 15 of Owen Scott inside Blake Parker for second. Alexander Rowe going to follow suit. Tried to at least, but Rowe's got to back out of the corner. And that's going to allow Parker to at least hang on for third. Now the 15 of Owen Scott moves up into the second position. Nick Kennedy still running a tremendous race, the best race of his career so far. So now here comes already Alejo. 2 of the JCM cars trying to fight their way back up to the front. Alejo's got some help from his teammate. He's going to try to give him a good push into the corner. Just not going to work out though. Just doesn't seem like that inside line, as deep in the run as we are in now, it seems like the outside line is that preferred line if you want to try to get around someone. And if you want more grip, you're going to need to be on that middle to high side. As these tires just get more and more laps put on them, they just cannot handle that inside line as they were able to at the beginning of this race. So we have just 20 laps to go. We are inside the final fifth of the race. This has definitely been a long one, like we knew it'd be. As here comes Alexander Rowe, going to try again for third. Looks back down to the inside of Blake Parker. Has much more of a run here. Let's see though, Crouch going to go to the inside and try to follow suit as well. Rowe will steer clear of the 07, and Ben Crouch might actually have the 07 cleared before the straightaway. No, he does not. They're going to go side by side down the backstretch. Parker going to get a better run, but Crouch going to be able to get the nose in there. Let's see who's going to be able to drive it in harder. I think, yep, Blake Parker definitely for sure. It's going to get much more of a run on that high side. Brett Bishop going to try to follow suit as well, make that high line work for him. Bishop's been falling back. He was up to second trying to fight with Nick Kennedy. Now he's trying to barely hang on to the top 5. Speaking of guys who once again been struggling, Ruben Gonzalez now falling outside of the top 10. His car really not working for him towards the end of this run. One thing we got to keep in note here, Owen Scott has actually been starting to chase down the 68 of Nick Kennedy. I think, he's possibly been saving his equipment. And if Owen Scott, he's obviously already in for a really big points batch. But if he can grab himself the win, that would be even bigger. As Scott in the top 10 of the point stands right now, trying to make sure he's all good for the Championship Gauntlet. Right now has gotten that gap within a second. I don't know if Nick Kennedy is starting to save those tires or what. But yeah, that 15 is really closing in on him now, as we're probably going to be down to just about half a second or so. Yep, that's all he is down to now. Wow, that 15 car, I don't know where he found all that pace and speed, but he is showing it. As Owen Scott now starting to chase down our leader, Nick Kennedy, here in the final stages of the race, coming to just 15 laps to go. He's picking the right time to pick go time. As that 15 Ronnie Racing Dodge really starting to look like it's getting hooked up here. Yeah, now he's just down to 0.3 of a second. Looks like Scott definitely saved a good bit of his equipment for the end and is paying off for him. As hopefully if he can go ahead and find himself up to the rear bumper of Nick Kennedy, that would be huge. There is a lap car ahead that is Tari Lowell, who could play a slight factor, but more than likely won't. Here comes Owen Scott now, really up to the back bumper of Nick Kennedy. He is right up on him. I think Kennedy might possibly have to be fuel saving here, as now Owen Scott is all over him. He's got his nose under there. He's going to clip him just a slight bit. Kennedy doing everything he can to hold on to that first place position. But Owen Scott is clearly just much faster right here. Like I said, I don't know if he saved tires or if it was just him taking that second pit stop. But Owen Scott been able to climb his way through the field. Here he goes down to the inside for the lead. Gonna dive it in there. He says, I don't care if you put a nose in there. I am here. But Kennedy now going to use a little bit of his equipment to try to power on the outside and hold on to the lead, and he will. All this battling has allowed Alexander Rowe to start closing up the gap. And this would be huge for the part-time driver. He's had terrible luck in the few races he's attempted with pole position racing. Right now in the top 3, possibly looking at a shot for the win. That would be huge. Right now Nick Kennedy trying to prevail, coming up to just 12 laps to go. 3 cars under a blanket, all trying to go for the win. Scott looks to the inside, sticks the nose in there, uses the bumper, trying to push Nick Kennedy up the track, but it's not going to work. Kennedy going to hold his own. Alexander Rowe now gets really close to the 15. These 3 drafting has really allowed them to start catching up to that lap traffic of the 28. Scott going to try to use the high line here, go a different line, and it might just work. Look at this. He's going to power through on the outside all the way around the 68. Almost hits the wall. But Owen Scott going to take himself the lead here, the 5th leader of this race. And he's going to try to run away with it. So now we're seeing here Nick Kennedy has lost out. Alexander Rowe got to try to get around him quick if he wants a shot to chase down Owen Scott. But Rowe not able to have enough momentum. This is allowing Owen Scott to really open up the gap between himself and second. Got to watch out though, as Tari Lowell is right there. Hopefully Lowell will just take the most suitable line. He's going to stay low. Cars aren't going to approach him just yet. Nick Kennedy now going to try to fight back. Maybe he was saving a little bit of his equipment for the very end, as now he's going to have to use every bit of it if he is going to want to try to get that lead right back. Tari Lowell not going over just so easy for the leaders, and he doesn't have to. No blue flag rules here in the Power V8 Cup Series. You can fight as hard for your lap as you'd like to. As we're seeing here, Lowell trying to almost chop down on the 15 Owen Scott a little bit, but Scott able to get around the 28. Lowell going to try to get down in line in front of the 68, and that's exactly what he will do. That's not going to help out Nick Kennedy, as he's got to try to get around the 28. And he'll dive down to the inside on the back straightaway. Alexander Rowe going to try to just power right through the other Toyota comrade. He'll have to take about another straightaway to get around him. That'll slow up some time for Alexander Rowe. Just about 8 laps to go here now, as Nick Kennedy still fighting for his first win. Owen Scott also fighting for his first win of the season. Ronnie Racing trying to get their 2nd dub overall. And Jared Bogley not JBM, Jesus Christ, Jeff Bolton Motorsports Racing, excuse me, is also looking to go back-to-back here. They won with Seishin Tomiyaka at the last race at Talladega. Nick Kennedy out in front in 2nd, but it's not looking too hot for him, as Alexander Rowe now is starting to get right up to his rear bumper, trying to apply some heavy pressure. Rowe now all over that rear bumper, the number 68 Ford, as Owen Scott trying to just count down the laps to his possible first career win. Here comes Alexander Rowe to the inside of Nick Kennedy, though. Kennedy, that forces him on the outside. He might be able to use that to get a better run. Yes, he will. Kennedy now is going to prevail in that 2nd position. Just 6 laps to go now. Here on lap 95, Kennedy trying to do everything he can to reel in the 15 of Owen Scott. It's just not working for him. Scott holding off about a half a second gap here. As we see, much of the field behind them is very spread out. It's going to come down to these 3 here at the end of the race. 5 laps to go is all we have at Charlotte. Rowe and Kennedy trying to just stay in line, possibly draft with each other to get up to the rear of Owen Scott, but it's just not working. They still have about a couple of car lengths between themselves and the leader. Rowe trying to push the 68 on the backstretch here. It's looking to catch him up just a little bit, as they're going to dive it deep into the corner. Rowe going to send Alex Kennedy up the track, and that's going to give him a huge run coming through the tri-oval with just 4 laps to go. Here comes Kennedy to the inside now of Owen Scott. He's going to dip his nose in there, dives it to the inside line. Scott's going to have the advantage on that high side, but they're still side by side. Nick Kennedy trying to fight back on the inside. Alexander Rowe waiting behind them, trying to make the right move. Scott able to prevail. Here comes Alexander Rowe on the high side now. He's going to try to go around. Nick Kennedy's pitting. Kennedy has to pit. We might see, oh boy, Kennedy had to pit there. He was just short on fuel. So what will that mean for the likes of guys who didn't pit twice? Not exactly sure. That's going to move already Alejo up to 3rd. Now Alexander Rowe. It's just him and Owen Scott. Coming up to just 2 to go. Not sure if the hand's out the window for Scott. I don't think so. He's going to stay out. Alexander Rowe trying to get his first career win in a part-time schedule. Owen Scott trying to get his first win. We see here both Jeff Bolton racing cars actually had to come down pit road. Tomiaka and the 68. So the JBR Fords were not good on their fuel count. We're starting to see some others. Blake Parker also coming down pit road. Another car down as well. We're not too sure. As coming down to the final laps here. Will our leaders pit? It doesn't look like they're going to. White flag is going to come out in the air. Owen Scott's got to hang on for one more time. Can he do it? Or can Alexander Rowe find a line and find a way to get up to the 15 car? Will they run out of gas? I think Scott's going to be good. He pitted twice. And I think Alexander Rowe did as well. Rowe does not have a good run down the backstretch. It doesn't look like he's going to have much for Owen Scott. Scott's just got to make it through the last corner of the tri-oval, and it looks like he's going to do it. Owen Scott is going to be your winner here at Charlotte. What a race. The number 15 Dodge DuPont car is going to come home as the victor. Alexander Rowe, in one of his first career actual starts, is going to come home 2nd. Alrighty, Alejo nabs a top 3, something he really needed. Ben Crouch will come home 4th. And just finishing inside of the top 5 is Brett Bishop. So some terrible luck there for the 68 and Nick Kennedy, just having to pit 2 laps before the end of the race. But congratulations to Owen Scott and his first career victory in the Power V8 Cup Series. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at your finishing results from this race. It was an absolutely wild one, definitely wreck-filled towards the first half, but in the second half, we had some really great, awesome green flag racing, a tremendous battle to the finish, and some pit strategy that had to come up. Owen Scott would ultimately prevail for Ronnie Racing and his team. Alexander Rowe, once again, bringing home pole position racing's very best finish in that part-time effort. We know that John McFadden is going to go over in a second car of theirs starting next week for the rest of the races of the season. So it should be interesting. Hopefully pole position will have a good bit of momentum off of this strong run. Alrighty, Alejo coming home in 3rd in his best career finish, along with Ben Crouch in 4th, Brett Bishop in 5th, excuse me. Jeff Bolton would come home 6th, Chris White 7th, Roberto Crown Jr. stayed out of trouble and got himself a decent points haul in 8th, Roger James in 9th, and Priya McShane would come home with a top 10 finish. Definitely good for her. Roger James certainly disappointed after leading a couple of laps, or actually I don't think he led, but he was up at the front of the majority of this race, got involved in a little bit of trouble, still came home with the top 10. Solomon Sheridan just outside of the top 10 in 11th, followed by Ruben Gonzalez in 12th. Boston Jones would come home in 13th, followed by James Fletcher in 14th, and Adrian Rojas would end up taking the last point of the race. He had himself a pretty decent day. It was a little up and down, but still, compared to the luck that Rojas normally has, I think he'll take getting himself another point finish. Ronnie Martin finishes just outside the points at 16th. Ricky Freeman Jr. finished 17th, and Weston Roper would be the final car to finish on the lead lap in 18th. Nick Kennedy and Tari Lowell would unfortunately all had to go a lap down due to their late race strategies. Kennedy would end up going on to lead the most laps of the race, and it looked like it was his for the taking for the most part until he had to come down pit road until the last few laps. It was definitely an interesting battle for him. Just outside the top 20, we would see Blake Parker, Leland Hill, and Seishin Tomiaka round out those who would all finish the race. They would all finish one lap down, as well as the likes of Nick Kennedy and Tari Lowell. We'd also go ahead and see JQ Halak be the first of the cars to DNF. Then Dylan Hayden would round out the top 25. John McFadden finished 26th. Xander Howell 27th. Mitchell Collins in 28th. And then we'd also see the likes of Riley Hill in 29th and David Dixon rounding out the top 30. Daniel Smith would end up finishing 31st, followed by Devon Fair, Christian Vargas, Herbert Oaks III, Myron Felder, Carl Untersweffer, Nelson Reeves, Arvin Basic, Aiden Smith, and Christian Russell, all unfortunately retiring out of the race as well. Everyone from 24th on back, all DNF due to accidents. So it was one of those races, as you can see, not many finishers in this one. And Ethan Hayden and Chris Parker would round out those who unfortunately did not finish. A lot of guys who were looking to continue on some great points runs, like Christian Russell, Ethan Hayden, trying to build up their points that are high up in the point standings, just weren't able to get those jobs done. Like we said, Russell and Hayden finishing 40th and 41st, definitely going to be a huge hit when you consider Roberto Crown Jr. was able to come home in 8th place. So it'll be interesting to see how the point standings stack up once we get them all tallied up for you. All right, let's go ahead and wrap things up with how the points are going to be looking. Just 2 races remain before the beginning of the Championship Gauntlet. It'll be important to see who can get into the top 10 in standings. Roberto Crown Jr. will be able to increase his lead to 24 points now thanks to his points finished today over Christian Russell in 2nd. Owen Scott able to leapfrog his way up to 3rd with his win. He's now just 29 points off of the leader in 3rd. Brett Bishop just a little bit behind him in 4th, also capitalizing on a good points day. And in 5th place is Ethan Hayden. He did not have himself a great day along with Christian Russell. Hayden going to drop down another 2 places in the point standings. Nelson Reeves is in 6th, followed by James Fletcher in 7th, just a couple points off from him. And it's very close between the transfer spot. Jeff Bolton, Chris White, and Arvin Basic all just separated by 3 points right above that cut line. Those who are just on the outside looking in, and they are very close, includes the like of Nick Kennedy, who is tied with Arvin Basic, but is outside of the gauntlet right now due to the fact that Basic wins with his win from Golden State on the tiebreaker. Devon Fair just a couple of points off of him in 12th, followed by Myron Felder, David Dixon, and Ben Crouch, rounding out those that are locked in the top 15 for each race. And then just outside of that threshold is Ruben Gonzalez, Adam Wilson, and a 3-way tie between Seishin Tomiaka, Zachary DeLello, and Boston Jones. Just 10 points separate the gap from 10th place in championship to 15th place in championship. So it's still very much anybody's race to be able to get into the gauntlet. Remember, we only have 2 more races before the beginning where the top 10 will battle it out for the championship towards the end of the season. We want to thank you once again for tuning in with us for some exciting Power VA Cup Series action. We're back from our summer hiatus and we are looking to return in full swing. Be sure to tune in next week as we head on down to Martinsville for the Swann Security 400. It's going to be really exciting. Championship Gauntlet battle is definitely heating up, and it should be exciting to see who's going to lock themselves in and get themselves in the top 10 in points. You will not want to miss it. We just have 2 more races before the chase for our championship begins. We hope to see you there next week, and once again, thank you for tuning in for some more Power VA Cup Series action.